Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ingrid's World. So I'm back with a new show highlighting education and trading. Meet Dr. Kehbuma Langmia, a Fulbright scholar, professor, and chair at the Department of Strategic and Legal Management Communication, School of Communications at Howe University. And I must say, it's Kathy Hughes School of Communication. Good. He has published 12 books, 17 chapters, and 9 peer-reviewed journals. He regularly gives keynote speeches at prominent national and international universities, the Library of Congress, as well as the Department of Defense. Then we will be speaking with Wright, who is founder and CEO of Second Wave Learning, whose mission is to prepare the next generation of leaders. They do this by offering on-site workshops at companies that educate all generations to a higher level of awareness and collaboration. Wright is an accomplished public speaker, keynoting frequently at conferences and corporate events about the impact of generations in the workplace and in society at large. So get ready to learn from our exciting guests. Let us welcome first Dr. Langmia.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you here.
Oh, likewise. It's an honor and privilege.
Well, I'm excited here because you know what? Howard University, School of Communication, Kathy Hughes.
Of course.
Tell our audience about yourself.
Again, thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor. And again, the warm welcome that I receive from your staff is really something to write home about. Again, thank you so much. Yes, you know, I am Kehbuma Langmia. I'm from the real HU. The real HU is Howard University, the Mecca.
You heard that we have Hampton people here.
The Mecca, and of course, in the Kathy Hughes School of Communications, and more particularly in the Department of Strategic, Legal, and Management Communication. So I am a cool guy who loves reading, who loves research, and who loves teaching, and who happened to have had his Ph.D. at Howard University. And wanted to come back to give back to Howard University.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you came back to do that.
To give back to the university, yeah.
So tell us about, so you came back there. What is, tell us about your department.
All right, thank you for that question again. My department, again, is called the Department of Strategic, Legal, and Management Communication. It's divided into 3 concentrations. So for the strategic communication, we offer courses in advertising and public relations. So our students will either specialize in public relations or advertising, which is under the canopy of strategic communication. And then we have the management communication, which is divided into media management and organizational communication. And then the last concentration is the legal communication, whereby we train students for the legal field.
Oh my goodness. The mission of your department.
Yeah, the mission of my department is essentially to equip students to study and practice of effective communication within corporate, governmental, international, intercultural, and interpersonal communication. That's our mission. Because as you see, we are the cutting edge of communication. We are now dealing with in-person communication, electronic communication, and digital communication. And if we don't prepare students for this cutting-edge dynamics in communication, then we risk not really being at preparing students for the changing world. So that is why these concentrations are helping these students to navigate the terrain and be able to be functional in the workplace.
Yeah, and communications is key.
It's key, of course. Without communication, nothing goes. Nothing goes, yeah.
So they're learning, how to work with one another and communicate writing.
No, especially, let me start with the strategic communication folks. Those who are specializing in advertising, and mind you, they are just 1% of blacks or African Americans in the advertising field. So we are the one that are actually producing most of the African Americans in the advertising field.
Oh my goodness.
And we train them in advertising. Not to talk of the public relations. The public relation, the public relation folks, we prepare students to be the face of the company for branding.
Yes, for branding.
And again, talking about African Americans, the top ones are from our program because we are a chapter of the PRSSA. So we train students to be communicologists. Not only communicators, communicologists are those who know the sciences of communication. So this company will hire these students who understand the sciences of communication, both verbal and non-verbal. And then for the legal communication folks, you know the lawyers, if you don't master communication, you cannot function in court. So we train these students in persuasive language. They take courses like persuasion, they take courses like media communication, they take courses like communication law, they take advanced public speaking, and they take legal communication research.
And legal.
Because if they don't master this, they will not be able to function. You don't just walk into the court like that. So that's what we do to those students. Then the management communication folk, the organizational communication. Ingrid, we are now faced with diversity and multiculturalism at workplace.
Yes.
People are coming from all parts of the world.
All
but those who master those global communication tenets, handling conflict at workplace. These are the folks in organizational communication and media management. So that is what we teach the students. So they take courses like communication research. They take courses like conflict and communication. They take courses like broadcast management communications. So that's what we teach the students in all these other 3 concentrations.
Wow. You will talk, so they are preparing now, you are preparing these students, and what type of jobs are they? Now we have college graduates, people.
Of course, you know, there is no way now that you cannot prepare students for the workplace. And as I told you, from the mission of our university, or from my department, to beg a pardon, is the study and the practice. So the practice is that they get into internship and they get into practicum. And by the way, most of the folks who are teaching in my department have the practical knowledge of communication, meaning that they had worked in the field.
They worked in the field.
They worked in the field. And so they bring that expertise. And not even talk of the part-time. The part-time faculties are those who are working in the field, and then they come in the evening and prepare my students. So for the advertising folks, advertising copywriting, these are the folks that we prepare, you know. And the other time we had Fox Sport that came to our school looking for students who can use Instagram for advertising. Let's say
so you actually have people who want...
Yes! And then the public relation, media specialists for the public relation people, digital communication experts, media moguls, and those who are even consultants. These are people who, because as I told you, they study the branding, they study advanced public writing, they study social media integrated marketing. And then, of course, the organizational communication folks, they work with the United Nations. They work with all these other agencies. They work with NGOs. They even become event planners. They can be lobbyists.
Exactly.
Because of what they manage, the organizational communication dynamics. And then, of course, the legal communication folks, we train them to get into law school. So we train them. They even have courses like the mock trial. They have the debate. Yes, the mock trial is done.
I saw the picture of the students.
Yes. So if you really come to my department, you will really see the student. I myself a witness of their mock trial in a classroom where they actually dress as if they are in court. And if you don't do it well, you are not going to get away with a good grade. And the teacher is very strict. And the student come in there, you simulate, you play a role as if you're in court. So they actually transform the entire classroom into a court session.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Because it's practical experience.
It's practical, and then they get that knowledge and they even transfer it even to their relatives at home.
Yeah.
So those are the careers that are reserved for my students.
Well, I tell you, that is exciting. Any awards and honors?
Of course. There's no way that my department can just exist like that. By the way, it is in the Cathy Hughes School of Communication. So let me even start with advertising. We are a member of the AAF, American Advertising Federation.
Oh my goodness!
And then of the public relations, we were nominated by 2010, and even up to now we still maintain that by Public Relations Week to be the top 5, producing the top 5 public relations specialists in the nation.
In the nation?
Yeah, well, and we still maintain that.
I love it.
And then, of course, let me go to legal communication. We are the first in the nation for parliamentary debate.
Oh, my goodness.
And then we are around the top 5 for the Mock Trial Association. We are actually at the cutting edge. We are making dents, especially when it comes to mock trial and when it comes to debate. So for the legal communication folk, you can count on us.
Wow. So me just say, when you see someone who's doing so well in communication, I bet you they are Howard graduate.
I did not even talk to you about the students. The Marshall Scholarship and the Fulbright Scholarship, majority of them that have been announced by Howard University, some came from our department.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as I'm talking to you, I have a Fulbrighter who is in Kenya right now. I have about a lot that have already applied. I have some that even graduated around 2009. Marshall Scholarship, Fulbright Scholarship, our students are getting them. There's one of my students who went for the Cannes Film Festival just to manage the communication dynamics in France 2 years ago. So the awards are just
everywhere.
They're everywhere because
everywhere.
We prepare the best African American students in the field.
The best.
If you want the best, you count on our department because we are the pearl. We are actually the cutting edge. We're actually what you may expect of any African American lady or gentleman in order to function in the communication field anywhere in the world. You can count on us.
Oh my goodness. I pick up from you a joy in education.
Good. That is the essence. That is the essence.
I do. I pick up a joy from you. What gives you the joy in being the chair of the department?
All right. The joy is, remember there was a philosopher, Bernard Furlong, who said that if the university does not teach you how to think, it has done nothing of genuine worth. So when I graduated from the university, I decided to be a thinker scholar. So the joy of writing, the joy of teaching, the joy of giving back to Howard University is because Howard University made me a thinker scholar. So that's the joy that I deserve, and that's the joy that I'm giving back to the students, serving as the chair of the department and also serving as a professor who also goes to the classroom and who also conducts research.
So you mean to say,
I teach by example.
So you're an example. So a student may look up.
They look up to me. I say, Google. I say, so you think that I'm the one telling you to do this? See what I also did.
What you do.
See what I did. So we teach by example.
Yes.
And that's why they believe in us a lot. That's why my students are always eager to learn because they say, look at the expert. Even all my faculty members, they are top experts. Google any of my faculty members. You'll be amazed with the kind of publication record. You'll be amazed by the teaching awards. You'll be amazed by the services that they render to the department. They are selfless faculty members.
Wow. Well, I tell you, it's exciting. So, we have 1 minute left.
No problem.
We want to tell our, what do you want them to remember most about this interview?
All right. You see, again, I want to start by thanking you again, Ingrid. This is a wonderful platform during our homecoming event at Howard University where we highlight and welcome our alumni that are the shining stars, that are the heroes of our department and also of our school. So I want to thank you so much. What I want them to remember again is that HU, the real HU, Howard University is the place to be.
All right.
There are no other places to be. The HU, that's the place to be. And most appropriately, the Cathy Hughes School of Communication. And of course, the SLMC, Strategic Legal Management Communication. We're on the second floor. 206, come there anytime. We are a family. We are the only department where we are a family. We open our arms. Our students know us. They know that anytime they knock at our doors, we are going to be there for them. So that's what I want them to remember.
Wow, what a privilege to have you here on the show.
So
Thank you for coming from Howard University School of Communication. I know that people are just going to be amazed hearing what you have said. They're seeing your information underneath there. And again, it was a privilege to interview you.
Thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you. And have a wonderful day.
All right. Coming up next, we'll be talking to Warren Wright. So please stay right there. We'll be right back. Well, welcome to the show, Warren Wright.
Thank you, Ingrid. It is great to be here.
Good to have you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I am CEO and founder of a company called Second Wave Learning, and we help companies attract and retain newly hired employees in the millennial generation. And I got into the generations business about 10 years ago. I started doing research projects with a gentleman who's a demographer, an economist, and an author, and his name is Neil Howe. And Neil Howe and William Strauss wrote about 8 best-selling books on generations. And one of their books was called Generations, and it was that book that they actually gave millennials their name. So they actually came up with the name.
Oh my goodness.
So I met Neil, we had lunch. I was absolutely fascinated by the topic, and I have been hooked ever since. And so I spend a lot of my time doing research and understanding this generation, and now teaching, spending a lot of time teaching.
Wonderful. So now, so you were inspired to create Second Wave. Where did you see the need?
Yeah, I think generations is one of those things. It's like the weather. Everybody talks about it, but no one ever knows it. Doesn't do anything about it.
Exactly.
And so I've always been interested in underdog topics and underdog situations and underdogs in general. And I feel like generations is like the little stepchild that no one really is paying attention to, but has this enormous influence about the way we live our lives and what our behavior is largely influenced by generations. And so I just became fascinated with it, and one of the things I recognized was this newest generation, which we're calling the second wave millennials, has characteristics that are very different than previous generations, and they have challenges as it relates to communication. It's interesting because your last guest, who I could never be as charismatic about, he was amazing. We realized that there was actually a real deficit in this area of communication with this generation. And so we created this organization to help millennials navigate the workplace so they could be more successful.
So I love the fact that you also deliver training. Tell us about the training that you deliver.
Yeah, so the training is, we actually go into companies. So that's the first thing. I thought that was
very
So we actually go on site.
Nice.
And then we deliver this training over a 4-week period. It's about 18 total class hours.
Wow.
It's divided into 4 parts. The first part is self-awareness, and that's getting the students really familiar with themselves. They actually take something called the emotional intelligence test. There's a book called Emotional Intelligence out there. And so we take them through that. Then we focus on communication, much like your previous guests, and all the, oral communication and written communication. We do a segment on problem solving and critical thinking, how to think through problems. And then also, the final segment is around social interaction.
Oh, wow.
Which is different for millennials because they spend a lot of time on their mobile devices and not a lot of time making eye contact,
like we're doing now,
and face time with actual people. So that's really the focus.
So, have you seen the benefits? Have employers and employees spoken about what is the benefit?
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting is that the second waivers have, like I mentioned, these characteristics that are different from other generations. And what we're seeing is high stress levels. They're perfectionists.
Yeah.
They want to do everything right. They're very risk averse. And as a result of all those things, they tend to freeze and don't make decisions about things. And you notice this, I noticed this, actually to some extent with my youngest son, who's really smart, really bright, but figuring out the direction he wanted to go precisely in college, he didn't want to go down a road that wasn't going to make sense, which obviously is logical, but sometimes you just have to choose and just do something and make a decision and take a risk and move forward. And I think because this generation has been raised by parents who spent a lot of time protecting their children, and I think about
the helicopter parent, huh?
Well, yeah, and I'm even calling them lawnmower parents because they mow down everything in the way of their child, right?
New term.
So that's
I like it.
So that's the Gen Xers raised the second wave millennials who are the lawnmower parents. One of the things in my neighborhood, which I noticed, which is very telling of this generation, is that so we have all these woods and paths outside, and there's deer outside, and there's deer ticks outside. So there are many parents that will not let their children go outside in these paths and play in the woods, much less play in the stream. And so, and I'm not going to judge the parents. It's fine for them to do that. But what ends up happening is that they have a lot of fear of the outside world.
Wow.
Literally the outside world, and the outside world, like work the outside world.
Yeah.
And so when they get to work, they're tense. They want to be perfect. They want to do everything right. They freeze. And so what we try to do in the classes is get them to unfreeze. Because they're really wonderful kids, and they're really smart, and they're really bright, and they have all these ideas. Right. And it's just to get them to that point where they could do that. And so the programs we've done, I would say we hit the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that we could do with these newly hired millennials, but what we start to do is create an awareness of the things that are important at work and the things they can do to unwind, be themselves, be their best selves, make the right decisions, or any decision. It's okay if you make a mistake. Mistakes are fine. Mistakes happen all the time, right?
So you also have a great PowerPoint here that you're showing us, that we're showing to our viewers. Is prepare the next generation. And I love the fact that you also have a slide that says the hierarchy of millennial needs.
Yeah, so this was an idea that we actually put in our book, Second Wave Millennials. That's going to be available, I think, November 15th on Amazon.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I wake up every morning thinking about how do we maximize the education of our youth to be better citizens, better people, more productive in the workplace, and so forth and so on. So I was really struggling because people ask me all the time, well, I have millennials, what do I do with them? That's a really common question. What do I do with them?
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to figure out a structure which people could follow and really understand, and a framework to understand that. And we came up with something called the hierarchy of millennial needs, and it's really it's modeled after Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you're familiar with Maslow's, at the bottom of the pyramid, he has food, water, shelter. Right. And then he has relationships and community. At the very top is self-actualization and really a deeper understanding of yourself and others. And so I was trying to figure out what are the most important things in this relationship that a manager needs to have, and how does a manager coach a millennial to be very effective? And this is how we came up with the hierarchy, basically.
I love it because it really, when I looked at it, I'm like, that makes sense. It does.
Yeah.
You also have a book coming out. So I saw
man,
that.
That's so much work. I can't tell you how much work writing a book is.
I cannot imagine. I just cannot imagine.
I don't know why I ever thought it was easy or if it was a good idea, but I really wanted to put everything in my head and everything that I'm doing and all the information about generations that I know in a place that people could access and benefit from. And I'm really interested in spreading the word about generations and generational differences and millennials, and particularly these new second wave millennials that are really having a hard time and are struggling in the workplace. Right. And so it's in the book that I talk about structure, for example, at the bottom of the pyramid. And structure is about
I see
a manager helping the millennial understand what the rules of the game are. What is the definition of my job? What do you want me to do? How does it work around here? What's the culture around here? Millennials come into the workplace and they don't know anything.
Right.
And so the ability, and they're really used to having structure in their lives. They've always had structure. Their parents have structured schedules.
Yeah.
This is not, when we were growing up, it was very unstructured as children, right? So we were free-range kids in our generation.
Yeah, I guess that's what they would call us.
Yeah, all a mom wanted was come home at the end of the day. I want to make sure
when
you're
the lights
safe.
came on.
And the lights came on, come home for dinner, and you're good. Now, parents are shuttling kids to scheduling classes and violin lessons and soccer practice and judo and jiu-jitsu and whatever else they're doing. And so that structure is something they're very used to. So when they get to the workplace, give them structure. They love structure. Like, we didn't want structure. We wanted our own way.
No, do my own thing.
But millennials want structure. So that's why we that's in the book we kind of talk about why.
So, yeah, because I was looking at that and I love it. Yeah, because it's kind of, let's say, when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They want to know exactly what's going on. What's a job slayer?
A job slayer.
I love that term.
Yeah, we came up with that name. We just came up with that name because millennials like that name, and a job slayer. So when Beyonce came out with Just Slay It, I don't know if you're familiar with all that, right?
A billion. Wait a minute. I went to Beyonce's concerts. So go ahead.
All right. So you're all about that, right? No, I mean that's it. So of course everything starts with Beyonce. She's awesome, right?
With Beyonce.
So we look at that. We're like, and all these millennials are about slay it, slay this, slay that. And we're like,
okay,
dudes, we're going to teach you how to slay the job, right?
Yes.
So here's how you slay your job. Slay means, to do well in, to conquer it, to master it, to be the, to be in charge of it, and it's empowering for people for that slay terminology. So, so slay the job is kind of the brand name of the program that we do in companies.
Love it.
Yeah. So.
And where can we get more information on?
Well, I see we have less than a minute left, I think.
Do.
So all people need to do is Google Second Wave Learning. That's it. When they Google Second Wave Learning, all the information about the company, about our website will be there. It's www.secondwavelearning.com, but you could also, no one else has called that, so you could actually just type it in Google and it'll come up.
Wow.
If you want to know more about millennials, if you actually type in Warren Wright and millennials, just my name and millennials, I have a ton of articles and blog posts about them.
Wonderful.
And of course my book will be out. You can look for it on the shelves in Amazon November 15th.
Okay,
So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was great to be here.
Millennials, okay, all right. That applies to my family. I have a son that's a millennial.
Well, see, right. So
I think I need to get
their
book.
Yeah, I will get you a signed copy of that book.
I love it, love it. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show.
you, Ingrid. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Langmia as well as Warren Wright for being exceptional guests. Our quote this time is from Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Thank you for watching Ingrid's World, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram under Ingrid's World VA, and friend us on Facebook at Ingrid's World. And if you miss a show, watch us on YouTube at Ingrid's World LLC. So stay in touch and ask yourself the question, how am I communicating?